Hi everybody, welcome back to Harmon Speaks. Today we're going to have a special edition for you. I am going to have a guest host who is going to interview me. I hope you remember her. This is Riley Toll. I interviewed her, about 2 months ago? About 2 months ago. She's one of my favorite guests I've had, and not just because she has a really cool arm, but because she's a really cool person. A little time challenged, but a great person. So,
he did that to me too, Riley.
yeah,
Don't worry.
she and Neil are related, not she and I, apparently. So anyway, that's perfectly okay. Today we're going to turn the tide around, and she's going to interview me. So this is a special edition of Toll Talks.
Yep.
Thanks, Riley. How are you today?
I'm doing great, but I should be asking the questions.
Well, you go right ahead, boss lady. It's all you.
It's
Get
my
it, Riley,
show.
get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's my show, Toll Talks.
And you get to pay Neil. Go ahead.
Okay. So first I want to ask, how are you doing today?
I'm stressed but wonderful,
Yeah.
thank you. How are you?
I'm also stressed. It's finals week for me. Can you tell me a little bit about why you're stressed?
Because I don't have finals. No, I'm going to be Santa Claus in a couple hours at Spark, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'm a very large man, and getting into this suit has proven to be a challenge. So I just hope I squeeze in it and get there on time. If not, Santa may be giving out toys in his undies. No problem.
So I know
It's a horror movie, if you're wondering. Anyway, go ahead.
your viewers know how dedicated you are to Spark and how much you like to work with them. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with Spark as of recent?
Sure. Yeah, I can. I am... I say co-sponsoring, but all I have to do is show up. But we're having a support group for people with disabilities. Right now we're still a small group, but I hope it grows in time. Although small groups are wonderful because you really get a chance to get to know each other. But when you say support group, I think people get the idea that we come together and cry, and it's nothing like that. We're trying to build a sense of community. And I am finding commonalities with the people in the room and they with me. And I think it makes our lives a little more complete.
Yes.
So I've been doing that and I really love that. And of course the Santa gig has taken a few days. I went down for a day last week and did a couple press interviews, which were a lot of fun. And just doing things like that. So I really have loved them.
And do the kids really appreciate a Santa Claus with limb difference?
I don't know
Do they make
yet.
any comments about
I
that?
haven't seen the kids yet.
Okay.
I've only met one. And there's a young man named Elliot who's going to play the role of my elf.
Okay, I've met Elliot.
And I got to meet Elliot. Have you met him as well?
Yes.
Absolutely adored him from the first moment I met him.
Yes.
He's a great kid. We were sitting at the table together, and all the adults were, doing the boring talk thing. So he took a battery, rolled it across the table to me, and I caught it, and I said, "Good pitch," and I rolled it back. We've been buddies ever since.
Yes.
Because he realized that I'm willing to not pay attention to. So we had a good time.
I know this isn't my interview, but
Yeah,
my
that's
school's building him a modification for his wheelchair because he wants to
great.
be able to go outside in the grass with his friends. He really wants to go 30 miles an hour.
That's fantastic.
I don't think we're going to get quite
Right,
there,
right,
but he wants to be
right.
able to chase after his friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I knew he was getting modifications. I didn't know where. I know his parents are hikers, and I think that was also.
Yes, they want to be able to go on the hiking trail.
Well, they're the sweetest family you'd ever hope to meet, and I hope that you are able to help them. I think it'd be great.
Yes. So, yeah, obviously I love Spark as well. So, one thing that I want to ask you about is I was reading through your books, and I'm sure all your viewers know that you have 2 books, right?
I hope so. I hope you have
I
them.
didn't bring them, but he has a children's book and a chapter book, and I was reading through the children's
book. Aren't you a big girl now? She goes to college.
I'm not an English major.
Yeah, okay, that's all right. Go right ahead.
But can you tell us a little bit about what love before you look means?
Okay. What that means is you should go out into the world with the expectation that you're going to meet people with love first. And that's not always possible, but it's a goal. And if you go out, otherwise you're going to see people different from you, and you might be afraid of them, or you may not feel like you can trust them, or that they don't have anything in common with you. When those things are farthest from the truth. And I want us to open our hearts up first, and then meet people, and then get to know them. Because I don't know a lot of people, but when I meet them, I want to give them the best benefit I can.
Yeah.
I want to assume I'm going to like them. And I assume I trust them. And a lot of times, if you meet people that way, they will reward you by being nice to you and being trustful. So that's just the way I try to see the world.
Yeah, I really like how you put that, because especially with children, it's hard for them to recognize differences. Like a lot of the kids in the book were scared of you. And
That's
is that
right.
true in real life?
Yeah, the whole story was true. The hardest part to write was that line, though, as I really wanted to nail that at the end. I had to work on that. But this really happened. My daughter really was in a daycare, and the kids were scared of me. And I would go in and go get her and leave, and I didn't interact with them, but they still were terrified.
Yeah.
And so I knew that moment would come. I didn't know when, and I didn't think it would be that early, but it did. And so we tried to come up with a plan, and we really couldn't.
Yeah.
It had to happen organically.
Yes.
So when it was her birthday, and her mom and I brought over cupcakes for everybody, it's easier to love a fat, scary guy with cupcakes than it is without.
Well, you are a pretty intimidating guy, disabilities or not.
You think so?
You know, you're tall, you got a deep voice.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, well, I mean, that helps a lot in teaching, so
Yes.
good. I hope most people are scared.
But
anyway.
he does have, you do have the biggest heart almost out of everyone that I've met.
Well, that's very sweet.
He's a
Thank
puppy
you.
dog.
Yes, he is a
I
puppy
am,
dog.
and I like people. I do have the stronger facade because I feel like you need that in the world.
Yeah.
I have children, and they have reasons that people want to pick on them, and it just isn't going to happen around me.
Which is really good.
And so I feel like my gift to my family is protection. Their mother is the unconditional love everybody all the time woman. That's not my job. My job is to keep them safe.
Right. So that actually kind of leads into my next question I had for you. So I kind of want to talk about ableism.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've heard that word, but yeah. So basically, this weekend I was driving and I stopped at a gas station and I had a coffee and an apple.
Okay.
And the lady at the counter, she looks at me and she's like, "That's so amazing how you're holding your things.
Right.
I don't know how people like you do it."
Right.
And she means it in a complimentary sense, but the way I responded was like, "Oh, you just get used to it."
Right.
And we continue the conversation. So, when you're facing ableism in the community, whether it be at a gas station or in a parking lot, how do you balance leading with love versus being stern and maybe teaching a lesson?
Right. I don't worry about the love thing. I teach the lesson.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen as much to you when you get older. I think people get a little more intimidated to make those comments to you. So when I look at them and go, they're not going to say, "Oh, I like the way you hold that." That still happens sometimes. And when it does, I just try to talk them through it. I don't want to punish them for saying it, but I do want them to understand that in my world, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I just try, it's funny. I tell the story of once I was in a museum in Canada, in Montreal, and I was standing there looking at an artwork that I am not smart enough to understand. And I was looking at it going, "What is this?" And this man walked up to me and he said, "You are just amazing." And I said, "But I do look good." But and he laughed and he goes, "That you could." It was summer. I was in my shorts. You could see my legs, and he gave me this that you could stand there like this and do this. This is just incredible. And I said, "I'm about to have a coffee or I had a Coke. You want to join me?" We went over and sat down, and I said, "This is why that's a dumb thing to say." And I said, "I was looking at a painting I'm not smart enough to understand. I wasn't doing anything amazing." And he was like, "Well, you were standing there?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been standing my whole life." So that's really not that big of a deal.
Yes.
And I know how he means it. He's trying to pass on the compliment. But, you want to make a compliment, get to know me. Compliment something I actually have done.
Yes, and rather than just existing.
Yeah, you got your pants on today. Good boy. Yeah. Yeah, I usually do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to move towards some more versus the series, talking more like fun things that I don't think have been highlighted on your channel.
Okay.
So first, I brought Gary a gift for Christmas.
Oh, boy.
So I bought him this plant. So I propagated it in water and I just planted it. So that's why
That
it's a
is
little
so
droopy.
cool.
But it's a wandering Jew, and this one doesn't have it yet. But if you leave it in the sun, it'll get silver on the leaves.
Okay.
So are you a plant guy, or is it more your wife that likes the plants?
I have had a plant that was given to me in 1979.
Ooh.
Now, when were you born? That's what I
1998.
thought. That's what I thought. It's dying now because of my wife. She put it in, I love you, honey, but it's true. She put it into a pot where the water couldn't really get out very well, and I drowned it. So we're hoping to bring it back. We're trying.
Yep.
So I'm good with plants.
Okay, so
Yeah.
water that maybe like twice a week. It has draining on the bottom.
It does
so
have
put it on
draining.
a little
All right,
piece where you
great.
won't get your furniture.
Well, I have seen these before. My grandmother had a few of these, and I love them. Thank you for the
Yes,
gift.
of course.
That's very kind of you. I appreciate it.
And so then another thing that Gary has told me a few stories about is one of his hobbies is he has interactions with the paranormal, goes
Yes.
ghost hunting. So maybe tell us how you realized you had this gift.
Okay. When I was a little boy, we lived out in the country, and I think people who live in quiet areas can get in tune with this easier than people who live in the city or in the suburban area, because it's very quiet. There's time to think about things. It's a different environment. But one night, we were all in bed asleep in my parents' house. It was dark, very dark at night. If the moon's not out, you can't see anything. And we're asleep, and suddenly I heard sounds in our living room. And it was the sound of people walking around. It was more than one, and they started moving around some. And after a few minutes, my father, who was sleeping in the red room right beside me, got up, and I could hear him get his pistol out of his table, which always makes me laugh. And then he went into the living room. And I never asked him what he saw, because my father does not allow conversation about that sort of thing in his house. But he went in, and he has an arrowhead collection that he had up on the wall. And what he saw was Native Americans in our house. Our land used to be Cherokee land. And there is a legend, although I don't know that it's true, that many, many years ago, the first member of my family who went there wiped out the tribe. And he buried them up on a hill. There is a Native American graveyard up on the hill. And my father felt free to borrow the arrowheads that he saw when they came up out of the ground. So he put them up, obviously robbing a grave, and that's not a good thing. And he took them, and he went into the room. He said, "The arrowheads are now mine. They are not yours. Get out of my house." And it was very quiet after that. And he came back, went back into his room, and I said, "Dad, can I ask you a stupid question?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Why did you need a gun to confront ghosts?" And he said, "The gun wasn't for them, it was for stupid boys asking stupid questions." So I went to sleep and shut up. That was all we ever talked about it. He would never discuss it again. He did admit to us at breakfast that he saw Native Americans. That's all he ever saw. But my mind was opened at that point, and I wanted to know all about it. So I spent my life trying to figure it out.
Yeah, so did you ever have interactions with that tribe, or did you more have interaction with
I never
else?
did with that tribe anymore. although I think we had one in the house after that.
Mm-hmm.
One night, my sister, brother, and I were at home alone, and my parents were gone. And we could hear a man running in our attic. He would run one way, then the other, back and forth, and back and forth. And so we got up and started talking about it, because we all heard it. And we wanted to figure out what to do about it. And we didn't know if we had an invader in the house or what. So we pulled down the attic ladder. We decided my brother was dispensable, as he was useless. So we sent him up to see what was going on. Plus, he was the youngest and skinniest of our group. And he went up and saw nothing. And he didn't do it again for the rest of the evening. But I would assume that was probably Native American.
Okay.
But that was the last time.
Okay. So, in your opinion, do you think that supernatural ghosts, are they more just confused on where they are? Or do you
Most
think
I've
they're...
encountered are sad, not confused.
Okay, and are they angry, or are they more just lonely, or both?
It could be all three of those things. The most that I have seen were sad, for whatever reason. And it's not like I sit and have a long conversation with them. That's not really possible.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to pretend that. I usually see them at a glance and they're gone. That's about it. But you get feeling in the atmosphere in the room where you can tell that they're sad. And sometimes I know their backstory. I don't know why, but I do.
And you've also told me before, like, you kind of have the intuition if there's one attached to a person.
Yes.
Can you describe that? Is it also the
That's
same
the
feeling?
most fun at a mall. You're walking to the mall and people are going by and you go, she's got a ghost there. It's cool. Because they do. They have somebody with them. And you don't go up and tell them. That's just creepy. But yes, I've had that happen. I had a student once. When I was teaching, I was telling ghost stories for Halloween, and one of the kids raised her hand and she said, I just think that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. And I said, that's perfectly fine. You can believe whatever you want. I'm just telling the stories for entertainment value. And she said, well, okay then. And she settled down and I said, but it's kind of ironic you feel that way. And she said, why? And I said, because your grandfather is sitting right behind you. And she looked around, didn't see anybody, of course, and she said, my grandfather's not here. And I said, he's dead though, right? Yes. Your mother's father? Yes, sir. Right. And she said, what does he look like? And I said, he's bald and very thin. I said, my grandfather was chunky and had thick gray hair. I said, okay. I said, do me a favor. Go home and tell your mom what I told you, because I want her to explain this to you. So she went home, told her mom what I had said, and her mom began to cry a little bit. And she sat her down and she said, you've forgotten this, sweetheart, but your grandfather had cancer before he died. He lost a whole lot of weight and all of his hair.
And you knew that?
I could see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it because I could see him.
It's wild to me.
So, it's a very interesting thing. I enjoy doing it. I'm trying to answer my own questions. I don't easily believe in things. I have to make a journey to see it. So I think that's why I get this gift, because it helps me believe there's an afterlife. It helps me believe, we filmed this in a church. It helps me believe what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Without it, I don't know where I would be. So
that's cool.
With it helps. And I hear a lot of people tell me, well, that's the bad side of it. No, it's not. It's not. I don't go around looking for the devil. I don't believe in the devil, first of all. And if he's there, I haven't seen him. And I don't want to, so that's not a challenge. But, I don't get that worried about this thing. If you see a ghost, usually it just wants to interact for some reason.
Interesting. So if your viewers are more interested in hearing these ghost stories, make sure to comment, subscribe, like. I think we're out of time for today.
Okay.
But Gary has to get ready to be Santa Claus.
Yay.
So that'll be really exciting. Thanks for having me as a host on your show.
Well, thanks for doing this, Sally. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Now, we are going to take some time off and come back the first week of January. because I'm going to go be Santa now, and then I'm going to make sure I'm fat enough to be Santa. And so I can't do any more shows till then. I do hope you'll come back in January and rejoin us. Please subscribe and like if you haven't already. Remember, if I get 1,000 subscribers by May, I will put my chubby Santa Claus bottom in a kayak and go across the water. So you want to see that, so please help me make that happen. I hope whatever holiday you celebrate this year, that you have a good one. You're surrounded by people you love, and like me, you'll eat too much. Bless you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in January.